Today I have a new role I will be interviewing.
Oh,
So here we have Stephanie Meyer. She's the principal designer of AVCO Design, which is an interior design studio in Sonoma County dedicated to creating spaces for gathering, connecting, and living well. And AVCO Design recently published a cost breakdown with actual numbers for a custom bathroom renovation in Santa Rosa
hmm
that AVCO designed and project managed. And we will have a link to that breakdown article in the description here. So thank you for joining me. And we came into the back room of the studio today to ask a couple questions about bathroom renovations.
okay.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Why are bathrooms expensive to renovate?
Because every trade has to come through. It's not usually reflected. Um, when you have a whole house remodel, you don't see the individual rooms a lot of times and how much it is that each person is coming through: plumbing, drywall, electrical, um, all the different things that need to be done in terms of demo and setup for the next thing that's going to take place. But if you're just doing a bathroom, it's almost like the lion's share of the work still has to be done. And it's more than a normal bedroom, let's say, where we're just doing base and paint and
Hmm.
ceiling and, the furnishings might be the more expensive part of it. A bathroom, it's all of the things that go in the wall,
Hmm.
and are built in that end up being quite a bit pricey.
Yeah.
So that's where it just ends up being a lot more than people think, because they may attribute the price of like a bedroom to a bathroom in some ways. Like they think about, oh, well, I'm not putting furniture and things in there, but the
Right.
things that you are putting in there are much more expensive
Yeah.
and more permanent and require fixing to the floor, walls, and connections into both of those things. So,
Very much like a kitchen, except for a kitchen.
sure. And then your cabinet costs will probably be significantly more for a kitchen, depending on what you decide you're going to do for your cabinet. So, it's just more options for customization, a lot more quantity of items, linear footage, things like tile, for example, square footage wise, depending
Hmm.
on your choice, can really vary the budget. So if you're looking for something that's a more handmade tile, for example, you might be 25 to 30 a square foot versus $5 subway tile that's just a plain white. So those things really swing the final product of a bathroom and the cost.
Right. Well, speaking of key cost drivers in a bathroom renovation, what what typically are those items that are really,
The skewers,
yes.
things that skew. Well, this is the this is the hard part about design, because anything can skew. However, tile, I think, is one of the biggest ones. It's just like I said, you can get something that is cents per square foot, like 25 cents, or you can get something that's $25. And then there's still the labor. There's still the labor to put it
Hmm.
in. And then if you're doing something that is a special pattern that's installation of tile, then you have the material and the additional cost of doing a special pattern of the layout, which is time and effort of the person who's installing it, because it might have to be a more artistic direction kind of installation.
Yeah.
So those things can definitely be skewers. Otherwise, lighting is always something. What you choose, if you want a particular type of stone on your countertops or
Hmm.
on your walls, the ceiling that might have to go with those, just the material costs, where it's being imported from, if it's an import, the way your cabinetry is made. Every decision impacts the budget, really, every decision. And we work very hard in the beginning to set expectations and work to see what are you trying to achieve, so that we can get those costs aligned and understood, so that our clients are like, okay, I really love the look of this, but now I understand that is a $6,000 vanity versus a $3,000 vanity because of the finish or the way the wood is made, to sit on the front of those drawers.
Yep.
Right now we're seeing a lot of reeded drawers. The particular bathroom we shared, we
Yeah.
started with a reeded front drawer and cabinet, and that doubled the cost of the vanity. And we eventually,
Yeah. Just with the read. Yeah.
just by doing the reeded fronts, and the client said, that actually isn't as important to me. I would rather spend that somewhere else. I'd rather reduce the cost of the project in that way. So we found a way to do a very similar finished wood, but took away the redid nature of it so that it would just be a flat finish, and do some, more interesting modern details in the way that we did the slab doors and the hardware.
Yeah.
So it still feels really architectural and really modern, but we just took away the detail to cut it in half.
Yeah. In the article, there's a lot of talk of smart trade-offs, which that would be one of them. What are some other, generally speaking, trade-offs? I think tile we discussed.
Yeah. There are many different ways to achieve what you're looking for. We started off with a hand glazed hexagonal tile that was 3 inches, like a 3-inch hex. And that was one that ended up being, I think, close to $55 or $60 a square foot. And so we found something that was a similar color and feel in a penny tile that comes in a sheet. So you're not paying like a per tile handmade price,
Right.
You're paying a per foot price,
Right.
which makes a huge difference for a whole floor. So then we got it down to like a $25 a square foot versus double that, which was a very, it would be an investment for that floor. If somebody really wants it, then we do it. But if it's something where they say, I would like to be half of that, the
Right.
tile is.
So yeah, there's always smart trade-offs you can make, or maybe spend. If it's that tile, maybe it's something that fits in a niche.
Yes.
Versus a wider space. It's like,
sure, there are ways to get an accent in a way that makes sense and doesn't feel like, the stripe across the shower.
Right.
I think a niche is a nice way to do that. If you're doing a backsplash or something around the vanity that could somehow bring a tile in there and be closed off from other areas, there are ways to bring in tiles that are different to the space and create an accent.
Well, there's also talk of the importance of advance ordering, meaning not waiting until weeks before.
Days.
Can you talk about how important advance ordering and how we do that for clients?
Yes. So one of the things that we do at the beginning of our projects and onboarding, we set a materials budget. We try to get as close as we can without actually selecting things, just so we know we're in the ballpark. And then as we go through our conceptual design, we set what that really is with the selections, and we align that with our clients. And then we order as soon as possible before construction.
After they've signed off.
After we've signed off. And while either we are in talks with the contractor, getting a bid, all of that sort of thing, we start ordering because we know that the project is going forward and going to be built out. And our job is to create a kit of parts based on the specs that we have decided. When we leave that up to others, a lot of times there may be some waiting until the scope is ready to go, like a couple days, a week before. And a lot of the special things that we want to put in place take extra time. So, for example, maybe there is the plumbing fixture package. And one thing in that package, like the valve that goes in the wall, has to be on site from the start and has to be the coordinating piece to the trim that we want. And that might be a 4 to 6 week lead time. So if we have the trim, but we don't have the in wall, it does us no good for the contractor staying on schedule.
Yep.
So one of the things that we do to ensure our projects go smoothly is have everything on site that is needed ahead of time. And that just allows us to have the kit ready for the contractor, whoever the contractor ends up being, to come in and use what's there. And we don't have an issue. We don't have a panic the day before someone is scheduled to come, or have someone come and then they have to come back to finish the job, which is inefficient and costs time and money for everybody. So we just like to ensure that our projects go smoothly. And that's one of the things we do as project managers.
Right. And it gives time. Let's say something's going to be out for a year. That's really unlikely. It gives you time to make those reselections without, having a last minute reselection. You have to pick something in town that maybe doesn't quite hit what you were going for.
Sure. We want to maintain the design integrity. And so making sure that finishes match, making sure that we're happy with everything that comes in. If something comes in damaged, that's out of our control, and we have time to get a new one. We have time to find something that will work and will align with what we've designed. So, there's just a lot of planning ahead with the end in mind.
Right. So an important question that, and one of the reasons why AVCO put together this cost breakdown for a recent bathroom is how the question is always, how do you estimate the cost of renovation? Which is a funny question. It's a chicken and egg question. It's like, how do you
Yes.
estimate the cost of something that you haven't designed yet?
Yes.
You
This
speak
is
to
our
this.
number one question when someone contacts us. Well, how much would it be? We have this much set aside. We have this. So, what we've been doing, we have been collecting our project data. We have been going through and just making sure that we understand our costs so we can offer that to our clients or people reaching out to us before we even start a project, just so people can understand what they would be committing to based on what they're envisioning and what we actually can achieve in real time with our people who do quality work. So, I mean, the answer is we have a little bit of both. We have the data that tells us it's going to be somewhere around this much generally. Now, if you choose to have the 50 square foot tile, if you choose to order, that amazing thing, faucet from Waterworks, if you want to have, I don't know, gold inset brass something in your tile, like if you really want extravagant options, our numbers will not reflect that. But we have really great numbers for quality products that are higher end, medium to higher end, and installed with quality people that we trust.
Right. And if it's some sort of special finish or fixture, some sort of technique that you can always go out there and find that person and get that price. It's just,
Sure.
it's hard to.
Our goal is not to start with the highest, the most extravagant materials, because usually it's a mix. Usually people value different things. They want this special thing, but they're wanting to just keep this a little more quiet. It's usually a mix.
What are, and that's always good information, but what are some of the hidden or unexpected costs to bathroom renovation? And maybe not hidden from us, but it's like, what are some of the like known unknown things?
So with renovations, literally an unknown is we don't know what's in your walls.
Right.
So when we are moving fixtures or just replacing them and we open up the wall to do the work, we may encounter things. We just don't know until we do it. For example, on this project, there was a situation with electrical where it had done in a way that it was a
The
lower
gauge, yeah.
voltage, lower gauge, and it needed to be updated to be code compliant. And so our electricians found it. We got it taken care of. But they're just these things that you find and you need to fix to leave the project in the state that everyone feels good about. So that's one of them. I think something that people may miss sometimes, they think of the cost of the tile, like the material of the tile, but they don't think of the installation. So someone goes and they say, oh, I'll do this $25 a square foot tile. Great. That's $25 a square foot, but they're not thinking about the material, the install cost. So I think material costs and install costs are something that sometimes aren't quite envisioned. I'm trying to think if there's permitting fees if we're doing a full renovation and we're getting the county involved, then permitting fees are something that get missed
County,
sometimes.
city.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're doing, there's a lot of finished fixtures that can be, installed without a permit, but it depends on the scope and what you're doing.
Sure. I mean, the other thing, sales tax, depending on where you live.
Yeah.
Our counties have different sales taxes or
Cities,
cities.
counties, different areas.
And so sometimes it can be up to 10%. So that's just something that maybe you don't think about until you get to the end of the shopping cart, at the end of the project. And it's like there's a 10% on top of some of this stuff. So that can be just an extra cost that isn't thought about.
What about how could different layout or material choices impact the cost?
If you're moving every plumbing fixture, there's a lot more time and material going
Rather
on
than
for
keeping
sure.
them in place.
Exactly. So that's kind of like the easy answer. Um, how much of the material where you're putting it obviously will create the different amounts. So it increases the cost.
Staying like, if you keep the toilet and the sink fixture and the shower fixtures approximately in the same place versus moving the shower here and moving a wall out. And I mean, that's going to really
Sure, like moving a toilet 4 inches over is the same cost as moving it across the room in
pretty
some
much,
ways,
yeah.
right? Other than the piping underneath it. It's like there's a big hole in the ground that has to be properly fitted. And so there's so the approximately I would be like, moving it is moving it, right? So we just have to be careful about understanding that and really understand why we're doing it. So in our layouts, if there is such a gain to the space by moving things around to make the room more functional or to fit in a tub where there was no tub or something like this, it makes a lot of sense just for the way that the room will be used. And I think that the investment pays off but sometimes it is better to keep the same layout. In this bathroom, we kept the same layout. We replaced all the plumbing fixtures other than the tub. We kept the tub. But we kept the same layout.
So we've covered, I mean, we're an interior design studio. So of course we do design. You covered why we like to handle the advanced ordering of the finished fixtures and furnishings, but we also like to manage project management. So that doesn't mean we're the general contractor, but making sure we're project managing the contractors that do come in and the schedule to make sure it's seamless. Why should someone want to look for project management from their design firm?
So I think another term or people may be familiar with is an owner's rep.
Okay.
And that's essentially what we act as, project manager or owner's rep. So we are making sure that the design is implemented. We are dealing with all of the small detail things that come up from drawing to actual fabrication of the different pieces and parts. So, just we say where the tile is supposed to start. If we had to, for example, in this project, there was a condition where the wall wasn't plumb. So the contractor had to feather it out and get it plumb. And then that means there was this 1/8 inch extra of drywall.
Right.
So then our tile layout was a little different. So it's like, okay, what are we doing about this detail? And we figured out the detail to make it look intentional and clean. And that's what we do. We work through any of the unexpecteds. We answer all the questions that just come up as someone is interpreting and actually putting together in real time the installation. And, for example, chandeliers and things like that, we do the art direction to make sure that if it's a fixture that has multiple lights that need to be hung at different heights, we're doing art installation, basically. There are a million different things that go into a project, a million small projects. And we are there to just manage each step of that so that the completion at the end is everything we've envisioned. And the owner isn't calling and stressed and worried because they feel like they have to make a decision instantly and they don't know what to do. We're there. We're there to cover it.
Yeah.
And we're only getting them involved if it's something that is a decision where we don't want to know what their preference is, so that it's just how they would like it.
Right. And with renovations, like you said, it's almost like playing a little bit of jazz sometimes, because there's always something slightly unexpected, but how do you still accomplish the design intent? And if you just hand over the design to a contractor and they're like, hey, we found this, how do you want us to hang that or this? Obviously the homeowner they want to make sure the intent is installed. And so it can be a little overwhelming to get all these questions. And it's
Sure.
like, it's nice to have a professional
Managing it.
that they know is like, you're going to make sure that this design intent, when I step in later, I'm going to be like,
I don't even see what you
I
were
didn't even
talking
see
about.
these
Yes.
little issues you're talking about.
Yes.
Because it just looks good. And essentially the role outside of also knowing who good contractors who have the right quality level for what we're specifying.
Sure.
So
And
like
I mean,
with
like you're
tile, for
saying,
instance.
it is a collaboration with our contractors. I mean, I don't, we have a culture where they ask us and we respond and we make sure that everyone is on the same page and no one is just saying, oh, this is the situation. Let me just do this. We don't do that. We talk about it. And I think that's an important thing to make sure that the integrity of the design and intentionality is preserved because there are a lot of, everyone has walked in a room where you say, I don't know why they did that, but it really catches my eye. We do not let that happen. That is our our goal is never to have that situation.
Right. Yeah. What should a homeowner expect um, from a custom bathroom uh, renovation process with AVCO Design?
What
And
should
I,
they
and I
expect?
and I think we've covered that, but
Yeah.
generally speaking, how do we like the process to go? Maybe start from generally from first contact through to the execution and final reveal.
Okay, so we start with a phone call typically, an
Hmm.
email if someone comes through the website, and we just understand what your goals are and share the information we're sharing right now in terms of costs and these kinds of things, just so that we can say, okay, is this a real project that you're really wanting to invest in? Because we know that it's an investment anytime you're taking on a bathroom. Um, so we go forward from there when we're hired to putting together concepts. We try to understand very quickly what your style is, what you're trying to achieve, what the rest of your home is, because it's important to us to make sure that what we do fits in. We don't, we like to make jewel boxes. A powder room is a great place to do something fun and unexpected, but also it still has to match the rest of your
Hmm.
house. We don't want something that feels like left turn, that's just like, okay, they just did whatever they wanted in here and it doesn't really match anything else. We like our spaces to feel lived in and like they've been part of the space the whole time. Um, so that's an important part of the way we design. Um, and we just work hard to make sure that we understand you. And when we're done with the project, you feel so great about what you've accomplished. Every time you walk in there, you're so glad that you did the work and you understand the value. You feel the value the entire way through the process. And I think we've achieved that. I mean, this bathroom, the homeowners are very happy and constantly telling me that they're really happy every time they go in their bathroom. So that brings me a lot of joy.
Yeah, you want your client to like, well, no longer use the other bathrooms because they just are
They
so
just want to go to
drawn. They
this
just need
one.
to go to this bathroom.
They're really excited to let people in their house and say, "This is where the bathroom is, please."
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a good testament to the process and the results when people are really happy to recommend you and um, let their family and friends
Yeah.
someone. So thank you for letting me interview you today. Is there anything you want to tell people who are maybe looking? How should they start? What's the best way to contact us or reach out?
Just go to avcodesign.com
Okay.
and we have a contact us form.
So go to
And
the contact us on AVCO Design.
yes,
That's a good place to start.
yes. And just let us know a little bit about your project and we'll get on a phone call and we'll see if we are the best fit.
All
Hmm.
right, thank
All right.